let's listen to a panel of Fox News people um, offer solutions to rising violence in major cities. You will not be surprised.
Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams held up two little baby shoes of a 1-year-old and talked about the latest victim of gun violence. And he called on the mayor to bring back the 1,600 man and woman force of the anti-crime unit that might have been able to prevent a shooting like this.
I find it interesting that cops need an anti-crime unit to fight crimes when that is supposed to be the job description of all cops, uh, helping stop crime or prevent crime. So why does there need to be a certain task force of cops to stop crime? Uh, it just seems it doesn't seem like a solution that would actually work. You cannot police people out of crime or over police people. The thing is, um, the root problem of crime is poverty. Uh, Poor people are more likely to commit crimes, because they lack access to the resources they need. Somebody that um, is poor is likely to want to shoplift food from a store because they're hungry. If we take into account socioeconomic conditions, uh, white people and black people commit the same amount of crime, um, if they're, both of the same class status. So the thing that we need to focus on to stop crime is poverty and elevating these cities with high amounts of crime out of poverty, and that will alleviate um, most, if not all, of the crime.
Will he listen?
Well, first of all, Eric is absolutely right. I mean, that was one of the critical 5 or 6 drastic mistakes that de Blasio made. That unit, I started that unit. It was originally called the Street Crime Unit. They're the people who straightened out Times Square for me. They're the people who straightened out Harlem and Bedford-Stuyvesant. And they're
Are these the same people that uh, were doing the stop and frisk, and who would, disproportionately stop POCs and frisk them, which is unconstitutional because it violates unreasonable searches and seizures. Cops can't just search anybody they want because, oh, I suspect this person of dealing drugs because they're black.
expertise was taking guns from people because gun control is meaningless, right? Bad people don't control their guns. So you have to devise a strategy to do it. We devised a strategy called Stop, Question, and Frisk. Before I left office, it was held constitutional by Eric Holder and by Janet Reno. I convinced them it was constitutional.
Just because you convince somebody something's constitutional doesn't actually make it constitutional. It's not constitutional, as I said before. It violates the unreasonable search and seizure, and most people stopped and frisked were found to be innocent. Only a small handful of people were found to have weapons. Majority of the people frisked were, what, like 70% of them were black people, and the black population of New York is well under 70%. I think it may be like 30%. Let me look. I can't remember right off the bat uh what the population percentage is. I've looked it up before. Uh African Americans, immigrant Africans, Caribbeans make up 25.1% of New York City's population. So the fact that 70% of them were being stopped and frisked is an obvious racial tactic and unconstitutional.
They limited it to 100,000 per year. It went all the way up to 600,000, and they started to make a lot of mistakes. I also suggest bringing back the constitutional Terry stops, because you have to take the guns from them. They're not going to go sign a registration form, and they're not going to turn it in. So you have to find a legal way, and Terry versus the United States provides it. But then you got to make out all the paperwork and be very careful, which is why you have to limit it to 100,000. You can't go to 600,000, which is what destroyed it. But you got to get those guns, and you got to do it quickly. So I bring back the
Okay, Terry stop and frisk is also unconstitutional. All it does is, if a cop has a reasonable suspicion that an individual is armed, engaged, or about to be engaged in criminal conduct, the officer may briefly stop and detain an individual for a pat-down search of outer clothing. It's claiming, according to law.cornell, a Terry stop is a seizure within the meaning of Fourth Amendment. It's just another way for people to bend the meaning of words to make it okay for cops to racially profile some people and get away with it. No matter what, an illegal search and seizure is an illegal search and seizure. Everybody is protected protected from the government from, being constantly searched for things that they may have. A cop may suspect somebody of going to do something, but suspicion is not evidence of a crime.
Any crime unit, I sure as heck be in the Comstat room right now, and I'd be there all night trying to figure out where the hot spots are and redeploying exactly the right police officers at exactly the right time. I don't know if de Blasio stays up at night. I know he gets up very, very late in the morning.
Is your late nights the reason why you act so crazy and unhinged all the time? Because there's something wrong with Rudy Giuliani if you have never listened to him before. Right now, he's being pretty chill. But for the most part, he's extremely unhinged and emotionally unstable.
Morning. And I don't know if you would understand Comstat, but you should get someone who does. I devised it with Bill Bratton and Ed Maple, and I was there very often when we had a serial killing and would cut it down to 2 rather than 10. It's a very simple program. You just watch where the crimes are. They're obviously now very much concentrated in northern Brooklyn, and you put the right police officers there. Most of those right police officers are in the unit that he disbanded, right.
What are the right police officers according to Rudy Giuliani? I'm wondering, are they people that will beat and kill black people for being black? Or what? Because so far, we have not found any of the right police officers that will actually uphold just laws and disregard unjust laws. All we have are cops that are nothing more than gang members that can do whatever they want and have the support of people like these that are all about using the cops to subjugate people.
Makes no sense. He's also he has to support the police. They don't trust him. They haven't trusted him since the assassinations of the 2 officers in Brooklyn when he called the police department racist, and the guy came all the way from Baltimore and killed New York City policeman.